The moment the company's new executive placed my termination letter on the table, she believed she was making the strongest decision of her career. In reality, she had just triggered the fastest collapse of her own.
Tabitha
Leaned back in her chair with the confidence of someone who had never been challenged. It was her first day as Chief Strategy Officer, and she wanted everyone to know she was in charge. Without even looking at me, she pushed the folder across the desk. "Your position has been eliminated effective immediately," she said. "Please leave your badge and company laptop with security before you exit the building." I didn't argue. I didn't ask for an explanation. I simply closed the folder, stood up, placed my access card on her desk, and smiled. "I hope you're available for the board meeting in 3 hours," I said calmly. "You're about to learn something they don't teach in business school." She laughed as I walked out of the office. To her, I was just another senior employee who had become unnecessary. She had no idea who she had just fired. 15 years earlier, Harrison had founded the company with brilliant ideas but almost no understanding of legal compliance or corporate governance. Investors loved his vision, but behind the scenes, the business was constantly one mistake away from disaster. That's where I came in. While Harrison focused on growth, I rebuilt the company's legal structure, negotiated investor agreements, handled government compliance, and quietly solved problems that could have destroyed the business. Whenever the company couldn't afford to pay me the bonuses I deserved, I accepted something far more valuable instead. Equity. Small percentages at first. Then additional shares from partners who wanted to leave. More shares during buyouts. Even more after a few expensive divorces forced investors to sell their ownership. Nobody paid attention because I never wanted attention. I stayed out of interviews. I avoided company events. My name was never printed in annual reports or marketing campaigns. Everyone assumed I was simply a loyal executive who preferred working behind the scenes. Only Harrison and the company's outside legal counsel knew the truth. By the company's 10th anniversary, I quietly controlled 72% of the voting shares. I wasn't just another executive. I was the majority owner. Everything changed after Harrison appointed his daughter-in-law, Tabitha, as Chief Strategy Officer. She had an impressive degree, endless confidence, and absolutely no understanding of how the company had survived all those years. Within days, she began replacing experienced managers with people she personally trusted. Anyone who questioned her decisions was labeled resistant to change. That Monday morning, she arrived outside my office with 2 security guards and a nervous HR representative carrying a termination packet. She never asked about my responsibilities. She never reviewed my employment agreement. She never called the legal department. She simply informed me that my services were no longer required. As I walked out of headquarters, I crossed the street to a quiet coffee shop and opened my laptop. With one click, an automated legal process I'd designed years earlier activated. Certified notices were instantly sent to every board member, every major investor, and the company's external law firm. The documents contained a forgotten clause hidden inside the original shareholder agreement. I had personally written it to protect the company from exactly this kind of reckless leadership. The clause stated that if any non-equity executive attempted to remove a corporate officer without board approval, all executive authority would immediately be suspended until the majority shareholder reviewed the action. There was only one problem for Tabitha. She wasn't an owner, and the majority shareholder she had just fired was me. Less than 20 minutes after the notices were delivered, panic spread through the executive offices. Harrison was entertaining several high-profile clients at a private golf club when his phone began ringing repeatedly. After ignoring the first few calls, he finally answered. The moment he heard the voice of the company's chief legal counsel, the color drained from his face. "Stop what you're doing and get back to headquarters," the attorney said. "Tabitha has activated the emergency shareholder clause." Harrison drove back faster than anyone had ever seen. By the time he arrived, executives were gathered outside the boardroom, whispering in confusion. Nobody understood why company systems were suddenly locking executives out or why legal had taken control of every major decision. Upstairs, Tabitha was celebrating. She had already started planning her next round of restructuring and was texting her husband about how she had cleaned out old leadership. Then she tried opening the company's financial dashboard. Access denied. She frowned and tried again. The same message appeared. She attempted to log into the executive portal. Denied. Her email account stopped syncing. The budgeting software refused her credentials. Even her executive calendar disappeared. Confused, she called the IT director, demanding an explanation. His answer was calm. Legal instructed us to suspend all executive permissions until the shareholder review is complete. What shareholder review? She snapped. I'm not authorized to discuss it. She slammed the phone down. 3 hours after my termination, the emergency board meeting officially began. Every director, investor representative, an outside attorney had already taken their seats before. Tabitha entered the room with complete confidence. She expected congratulations. Instead, she found absolute silence. Harrison sat motionless at the end of the table, staring at the documents in front of him without saying a word. Miss Tabitha's authority has been suspended pending investigation into an unauthorized executive action. She laughed nervously. There must be some mistake. There isn't. The attorney opened the shareholder agreement and placed several signed copies on the conference table. You terminated a corporate officer without board approval while holding no ownership interest in the company. Under Article 12, your action automatically suspended executive authority and transferred operational control to the majority shareholder. Tabitha slowly turned toward Harrison. He couldn't even look at her. She whispered, "Who owns the majority?" At that exact moment, the conference room doors opened. I walked inside carrying the official shareholder ledger. Every investor in the room immediately stood to greet me. Tabitha looked around in complete disbelief. "No," she whispered. The lead attorney nodded toward me. For the past 15 years, she has quietly accumulated 72% of the company's voting shares. She is and has been for years the controlling owner of this corporation. The room fell completely silent. She had assumed titles meant power. She never realized ownership always comes first. The attorney continued. Your termination of the majority shareholder is legally invalid. Your employment, however, is now under review for violating corporate bylaws and exposing the company to unnecessary legal risk. Within minutes, the board voted unanimously. Her executive appointment was revoked. Every management privilege was canceled. Security was instructed to escort her from the building after she returned her company devices. She looked at Harrison, expecting him to defend her. He lowered his head. There was nothing he could say. His own decision to place family loyalty above corporate governance had nearly cost him the company he spent decades building. Before Tabitha left, I stood and faced her. Leadership isn't something you inherit through marriage or receive with a job title, I said quietly. It's earned through responsibility, patience, and understanding the foundation you're standing on. You tried to remove someone without first learning why they were there. She said nothing. For the first time since joining the company, her confidence had completely vanished. The board formally restored my position, reversed every unauthorized decision made that morning, and returned operational control to my office. As the meeting ended, Harrison approached me privately. I'm sorry, he admitted. I forgot who protected this company all these years. I simply nodded. Respect was never something I demanded. It was something people discovered after underestimating me. That day reminded everyone in the room that the loudest executive isn't always the most powerful one. Sometimes the person working quietly behind the scenes is the one who truly holds the keys to the entire empire.